Okay, welcome along to Gear Guru, Keep Cardiff Live, and we're very fortunate today to have Simon and Ruben Kingman with us. Hi, guys.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Okay, and we've also got Steve as well from Keep Cardiff Live, and we're
Yeah.
just going to have one of
Can
our
you
little
speak up, son? I can't hear
conversations.
you. I can't hear. I'm very old, so you can speak up for me. Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
It's terrible. I have to work with this guy all the time, you know. It's like a really bad comedy act from the 40s or something. They're still trying to carry on a pier sort of thing. Anyway, we'll get back to the music side of things. Yeah, we're very lucky to have Simon and Ruben today, two fantastic guitarists. And they've agreed to tell us a little bit about the gear that they're using and some of the guitars, which are quite special, really, because you might not have heard of these guitars before. But Simon's going to tell us a little bit about them. They're really excellent. I think you ought to check them out as well. So I'm going to pass you on to Simon, who's going to tell us a little bit about the guitars to start with.
Oh yes, okay. Well, this guitar is it's a Telecaster made by a guy called Michael Coolin from California Artist Guitars, and he's an English guitar builder who's now living in Italy. He endorses myself and Ruben, built a couple of guitars for us, which is fantastic. He also endorses a couple of another amazing guitar player called Mark Lattieri, who you might have heard of, who's otherworldly type guitar player, really. Yeah, he's brilliant, and he builds everything from scratch pretty much. I think this one is as I say, a Telecaster, which is built on a solid one-piece ash body, right. Brazilian rosewood fingerboard. It's got Joe Dominga custom-built pickups from a guy in the States, and yeah, it plays fantastically. It weighs about 6.5 pounds, light as a feather. It's great. It's just it's got a telly kind of twang.
Lovely
it's
telly
got that
sound,
classic Telecaster sound,
got that kind of telly feel. It's great. Ruben, this is what's the term about yours?
Yes, have a look at Ruben's.
He calls it Gold Digger. It's ash body, Brazilian rosewood fingerboard, quite a chunky neck. And pickups, we've got two Fuente 59s, and then this mysterious humbucker that I got from my dad.
Don't worry,
I'm not sure what it is, but it sounds good.
It was in the cupboard, It was one of those ones where you come up with the jar sometime in the past. I can't remember the
design. The famous in the cupboard pickup, that one, yeah.
Sounds great, man. I think it's must be a DiMarzio.
It's a bit battered, this one. But,
is it plugged in? Is it plugged in, Ruben?
Yeah. This is proper. Yeah, I snapped a string on this actually the other day, and I've yet to restring it, so I've been using my other strap. But
yeah.
So is that? Would you say that's your go-to guitar then? That one?
Generally, I think it needs a bit of a refret actually. I'm digging jumbo frets a bit more, and these have got 6105s, which are, I think they're like a vintage width, but they're a bit taller.
Yeah.
I like something a bit fatter these days.
So for the people who are sort of interested in this sort of thing, you're finding that the fret sizes, do make a difference to your playing?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just the distance between your fingers and the wood underneath. So
obviously,
less friction. You'll be able to slide really easier. Jumbo frets, I think you can feel it a little bit, but it's a lot less than these. It's just a bit sticky sometimes, I think.
Yeah, sure. Michael tends to use tall, narrow frets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So often you go, these, instead of the standard vintage frets, which are very thin, these are like thin or narrow, but they're high,
Right.
So, but the jumbos are kind of wider, and fatter, and
even
sure.
Higher
so.
again, yeah.
So again, same question. Would that be your go-to guitar? If you're going to pick up an electric, Simon, would it be your Telecaster there?
Varies really. I mean, Telly, I often, to be honest, I've been using a Fret King with Zervis and Pepper,
right,
which is kind of stuck. It's got a mini humbucker in the front, single coil in the middle, and a humbucker in the back. And it's got this kind of blend pickup on the back, which you can blend from a single coil to a humbucker on one pickup, which is really nice.
Yeah.
I'm lazy. I don't like to take more than one guitar out on because I'm just can't be asked changing them over in the middle of a set.
I think it's a practical thing, though, isn't it? When you play live, you start off. If you've got 2 or 3 guitars, you're playing at home, and you can't quite decide which one, and then you try to find the one like the Swiss knife of guitars, don't you? Really, that can do a bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I only use a couple of tones, but it's in that set, particularly with Herbs and Pepper. There's one track which has got like a kind of a jazzy sort of solo, where you've got the kind of front pickup thing, where you play an octave, and you can get that kind of jazzy thing with the Telecaster where you can't really do it with this. You can with a Strat ish, but it's like Telly's a bit fatter on the front on the neck pickup than a Strat is.
Yeah.
A bit warmer. But it's also got that bite on the back, and so it's kind of a Telecaster. I think is a great all rounder for so many different styles of music. To be honest,
Sure, it's like they kind of got it right. Fender got it right the first time around, really, with the Telecaster, didn't they? It was it's still a great instrument to play now, isn't it? It's so versatile.
I mean, the only thing it lacks, as I say, is the trem, and that's why the this Fret King that I've been using, which is a Fret King Semitone Deluxe, is called, and it's got a really nice trem on it. Lovely trem. I mean, it floats, but it's much nicer than a standard Strat trem. It's got a, it's a two screw pivot trem, so it's kind of feels really nice to play.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we were talking earlier about the different styles you go through, and I remember back in the late 80s, I used to play like locking trems and all that. I was into all that stuff, double round.
Didn't we all?
Exactly. Well, and then when complete full circle back to kind of more vintage style guitars, but then you do kind of miss sometimes that tremolo system, and I think that modern trem with the 2-point, the 2-point screw system feels a little bit closer to that nice floating trem you can get with a locking trem. You can't really get with a standard vintage Strat, It always feels a bit stiff, the vintage Strat trem, even if it depends, obviously how many springs you got on the back. But
yeah, sure.
I normally have mine blocked off, because I just takes me out of tune all the time,
Well, that's it. Yeah, it can do that. There's lots of different systems out there that try and kind of, get over that. But the standard systems do tend to go out of tune unless you block, unless you.
And you need to pay money for that stuff, which is where I struggle.
Yeah, I think it puts a lot of people off. They do sort of block the trem off, but it's a really useful technique as well. I mean, like he was saying about the 80s, I think trem playing really. Yeah, I suppose Jeff Beck was one of the ones who people would sort of go to from that. But there was a lot of artists in the 80s who were using like a tremolo style. I remember. A lot of the 80s records would have that sort of fashion to it. So it was a big deal in the 80s, but I think a lot of people are put off by the fact that the tuning, it does go out of tune, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, so much has changed since then. A lot of it's down to fashion, really, but there is definitely, I think, going back to the more vintage analog stuff, pedals as opposed to digital. But now, obviously, with the Kemper stuff, everyone's got gone back to the digital again.
Yeah.
And I would have always sworn by valve amps and that kind of stuff. But recently, I've been using a Roland Blues Cube, one of the new Blues Cubes for gigs. And to be honest,
is that what you're using now?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
No, it's really small, isn't it?
No, what I'm using now is in here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Is that tiny little thing there?
Cool. Yeah.
Normal cube.
Yeah, they're great. Those great practice amps, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, I like their stuff anyway. I like the stuff that Roland's
got a little black star.
Oh yeah, they're loud as hell, aren't they?
Modeling amps have just got so good.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing is that the digital version of analog is a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
They seem to have they've put a lot of research into it. There's a lot of, like you say, Kemper and Helix, and there's a lot of stuff out there now which I've played through, and I swear you can't tell a lot of difference. No. But you're never going to beat playing in front of a fantastic old Fender amp or something like that. You're never ever going to beat that. But it's the closest you can get to it, and also it's probably not so expensive and more versatile, I suppose.
Yeah, there's certainly a sweet spot you can find on valve amp sometimes. You know, which
Definitely, yeah.
And there's I remember we were in a studio up in Scotland with Zervis and Pepper. We did a tour up there. We were staying in this studio overnight after a gig, and the guy set the studio up for us so we could have a jam when we got back from our gig. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. We were all like on tequila and just, you know, jamming.
Nice.
But we had this old Marshall JMP50, and I plugged into it. It was like the holy grail, you know.
Yeah.
I played a chord. I was like, what the f- that's the sound I've been after all my life, you know.
Yeah.
And then I came home from that tour and bought one on eBay, and they sent it down to me. And I think I got it from the front door to the bottom where I'm sitting now. And I thought, oh, I'm selling this. It weighs as much as my car, you know.
Way too heavy. Yeah.
I
mean, that's another thing you get with the wisdom of old age, isn't it? I'm not carrying that round anymore. If it's like a tiny little box and it gets near the sound, I'm going to go for that instead. But
what other guitars do you guys use? Because I can see some other guitars behind you. Do you want to talk about anything else? I know you got the Strat equivalent of the Telly, haven't you, as well, Simon? Yeah.
So Stratocaster. Obviously, this is the guitar to the.
They're like brothers or something, aren't they? You know, they look closely related.
This one's called apparently this one's called the Dominator, as you can see written on the back.
The Dominator.
Michael called it, not me. Yeah. So he wrote Dominator on the back, and this was signed and stamped. And this one is, as I say, the sister or brother to this.
Beautiful design.
Yeah, they're both great guitars. Ruben's using this, which is a real nice piece as well.
It's called a light ash Strat. I think they came out in the early 2000s, so maybe the 90s, made in Korea, and they've got like a single fender decal, so no.
Yeah.
Kind of was it synchronized?
Yeah, like a no caster kind of thing. So you know, it's got no name on it, but it's
Seymour Duncan's in there as well, and Nico 2s, I believe.
Real nice pickups.
2-point trem. Sounds nice.
The trem is really nice. Again, like we're talking about the trem float, floats really nice. It's got a nice feel to it, and it's got a V neck on that, which is. I mean, for the money, these, you know, to be honest, I picked this up 300 quid because I was thinking, I buy and sell a few guitars. 300 quid, I'll sell it on for 450, make a couple of quid. And then Ruben was like, I like that. And I was like, go on, and you can have it for 300 quid. And I sold it. I was a bit gutted I sold it to him, because it is such a nice guitar.
Yeah, there's a lot of the Korean-made instruments, fantastic quality, aren't they? You know, and obviously the Japanese Fenders of the 80s. I mean, again, you would have a mixed bag there. Some of them weren't so great, but some of them were fantastic. You know, it's a case of, I think you fall in love with the guitar when you pick it up anyway. But not to be put off. Sometimes people are put off because of the name on the headstock. You know, pick it up and play it is what I would say.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I play. I'm really into semi-acoustics. You know, hollow bodies, and I've got over here. I'll show it to you now. There's a company called Peerless, who again, it's a Korean company, and basically this one's a copy of like an Epiphone Casino or a Gibson 3.
Oh yeah.
And this is it here.
Lovely.
Nice.
And it's just, I can't tell you what a great guitar this is. And you know, Gibson 330 will cost you 3,500 quid.
Exactly.
And this costs, I think, new about 980 or something like that. If you bought it new, you can pick them up for 400 quid second hand. And I changed the pickups for a set of John Birch pickups, which Dave Williams put in for me. And you know, cursed me out ever since, because he hates working on semi. He's like gone fishing trying to change it. I changed the machine heads for some Clusen, butterbean ivories to make it look a bit more 330-ish.
Really nice.
And it's just stunning, you know. So I love this guitar. Also, I've got what's the other semi-acoustic I was using for a bit? Westone. Do you remember Westone from the 80s?
Yeah, Westone, yeah.
Wow. Westone Rainbow. If you can pick those up secondhand, the Japanese one of those, you know, Westone Rainbow 2. They're just fantastic for the money, you know. Absolutely peel over a kind of Gibson 335, really.
Yeah, I think you're spot on it. Just have a look around, and you can pick up some real gems. On the obvious internet sites and stuff like that. If you know what you're looking for, but also if you go into the shops and try some of the guitars out, and don't be afraid to modify them, like you say in there. Yeah, you've changed the pickups. I mean, a lot of the time that makes a massive difference. Changing the pickups, changing tuners. If you like the feel of the guitar, and you like the look of it, then why not?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, talking about amps and all that as well, and effects. It's like Ruben, you because you don't drive at the moment, so he's still getting his testing or whatever. But so when he goes out gigging, portability is the thing for Ruben, and
absolutely
what you're using. Man.
So when I play some gigs where they don't have a backline, I use a kind of a little Zoom G1X4, which is like a multi-effects. I don't know if you've seen those. They're like 85 quid, but they've got all these amp presets on there, so you can pick a cabinet and an amp and then a few effects and just plug it DI into the PA, and it sounds good enough.
I mean, I've seen gigs where Ruben's been using it. It sounds it's like you would never know that he wasn't using it.
No.
An amp, 85 quid. You know what I mean? So
that's not too bad.
A lot of it is. It's all smoke and mirrors, a lot of it, really.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the effects now as well, they're built to go through full range cabinets. So, to go into a PA system, they do sound good, I've seen loads of acts recently not have any backline at all. It's kind of sad because you do like to see the big amplifiers behind them or whatever, but from a practical sense, it's portability. It's great. It's a good idea.
They'd have had to remake Spinal Tap, though, wouldn't they? Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
It wouldn't have worked,
Yeah, we watched that. In lockdown was one of our lockdown films we watched recently.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah.
The other thing we're doing at the moment is, like I talked about, I have a project in lockdown. Is I've got a guitar build on the go.
Mm-hmm.
So first thing that happened when we've been in lockdown for about 6 weeks now, because Ruben had the virus first, and then he passed on to me and Helen. So we were ill for.
So in a way, it's good, I suppose, reassuring that you've had it and you through it. Is it?
If it was the virus,
no, that's the other thing.
You don't know, do you? Yeah, you don't know.
No.
We were really, I mean, it was rough with something that you felt like you'd never had that before. So it kind of, hopefully that was it, But anyway, so get into a project after that. I thought, I'll buy some bits on eBay. I've got all this stuff in the cupboard from leftover guitar parts and stuff. I buy a body, buy a neck. I've got some pickups, I've got this, I've got that. So I bought a Torino Red 80s Strat body from a Japanese reissue, which is really nice. And a hand-built neck from a company, I can't remember the name of the company, a Japanese company, another guitar neck. Vintage looking, some Tone Rider pickups. So I'm just started putting that together yesterday. So you just put the machine heads on. Just getting
Is this going to be a Kingman?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I went on to
Mark 1.
Get the headstock,
Yeah, I went onto eBay and there's a guy making decals. So I said,
yeah,
Kingman
you go.
Guitars. We sent you this decal, Kingman Custom Guitars #1. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And I'm just taking the plunge about drilling the neck holes tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because I've never done it before, and I'm just dreading taking it to Dave Williams, a guitar guy who's taken my gear to all my life. Dave, can you fix this for me? So yeah, I'm hoping that,
it's always a bit worrying when you start messing around taking chunks of wood out your guitar. I went on a course very recently where I was basically taking one of my guitars to pieces and cleaning it up and dressing the frets and everything. And it's like, it was like, oh my God, what am I doing? But once you get into it, it's not so bad. But there was one stage where I thought I'd taken half the fret off accidentally, but I managed to get myself out of that one. But it turned out to be not a bad setup. But after that, I thought, I kind of know what I'm doing, but I think I'll leave it to the experts now.
Yeah, that's kind of like me. I'm lazy more than anything else. I'm not useless. I'm just fairly lazy, I could probably put my hand to it if I need to. Do you know what I mean? But it's like, I'd rather take it to somebody who does it every day. And
exactly. Yeah.
Simon, did you want to just quickly talk about, just briefly, maybe got a beautiful guitar behind you. I know because your stuff with Service and Pepper, a lot of that is kind of acoustic or semi-acoustic stuff that you do. Are there particular kind of brands that you like with that too?
Well, yeah, there are. I mean, to be honest, with Zervas and Pepper, I just play electric, but with which Paul Zervas is the acoustic guitar player in that band, you know. Which I suppose is why I haven't really been doing much acoustic playing for a while. Whereas go back 10 years, that's all I was doing was acoustic playing with Charles and whatever. And at the time, I was really into. I love the Martin 0015. That's probably my favourite little acoustic. I like small acoustics actually, so I like parlour guitars and got a really nice little parlour Tanglewood parlour actually. It's quite nice. A few bits and pieces. But I've owned Gibsons and Martins and so on, and I suppose in an ideal world you just keep building up guitars and storing them. But for me, it's like they're also kind of collateral, So I was like, oh well, I've got that sitting, I haven't used it for like 2 years. I'm going to sell it and buy something I'm going to use,
Between the two of you, how many guitars have you got?
50.
I've got 4.
Yeah, I've got about 7 or 8 or something like that. So probably about 12.
Yeah,
that's
quite reasonable.
Fair few, but not like not ridiculous. For some people,
I'll ask you my typical daft question now, because I do ask daft questions, as you probably know. So if I go in, I've been playing guitar sort of 40 years or something. I'm a singer-songwriter really, and more than I play guitar, I'm okay, but I'm never going to be a virtuoso. But when I go into a music store, I always feel a bit kind of self-conscious about if we're going to play a guitar in front of one of the guys, because they can generally all play. So I've got to try and deal with that one myself somehow. So I don't know what I do with that one. But what's your kind of, either of you really, your advice for somebody at the kind of less of an advanced stage with guitars, who've got a few bob, they want to buy a guitar, going into a guitar shop, because everybody's sort of like clothing, everyone wants to wear the Levi's, everyone wants to do this and the other. But if you've got some wise advice for people to help them with, say they want to spend, I don't know, 500 quid max on a guitar.
Well, Ruben works in PMT actually, so.
Oh, there we go. So Ruben, what would your advice be?
As in recommendation for a guitar?
No, I mean, would you? I mean, like for the average, I hate the word really, but like an average kind of punter coming into a music shop, maybe they're buying the first reasonable outlay for a guitar.
Yeah.
You can take them other places apart from the Fender and the Gibson parts of the store, can't you?
Yeah, I believe so.
You've never done it.
Acoustic guitars?
Well,
let's go acoustic.
You have to kind of a recommendation. Sorry, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm sort of asking in terms of perspective on value for money, as opposed to having to pay for the name. As a kind of advice you'd give them on that.
Okay. Well, when it comes to the electric kind of stuff, G&L I think are wicked and a lot better than the same price Fender stuff that comes out, which is like the Fender Player Series you can get for 500 quid, 550 quid. But the G&L version of that, which is like 479, I think, or at least the one in PMT is, that it's infinitely kind of better in a lot of ways, I think. As far as acoustics, I am a particular fan of Taylor stuff actually, and they kind of start quite cheap. Like the GS Mini starts around 500, 600 quid. I think they are wicked.
For me, I would probably, you mentioned I used to have Faith, and Faith is still doing really nice guitars. They're all solid wood. I think they're all solid wood from the starting point of their cheapest model, even the Faith Naked series, which are just bare wood. There's no like lacquer finish, which I like actually. I like the matte finish on acoustics. And that's why I like the 00 series actually, the mahogany ones of the Martin, is because they're bare wood. And the Faith series have got some great ones. The Faith Venus are really nice. So if you want like a folk shaped guitar, or if you want the Dreadnought, I think it's called the Faith Saturn. So they're quite nice guitars for the money, and although they've gone up a little bit. I think the Naked series are about the only ones you can get for around the 400-500 quid mark now, but the others are more in 700 or 800, I think.
Well, Tony knows my philosophy with money, so
yeah, the cheapest one possible.
I mean, electric guitar-wise, you had that thing go back 10 years where those Squier Classic Vibes were great, but they've changed quite a lot now. They're using Alfaro on the fingerboard instead of rosewood, and I think it's like basswood bodies instead of alder and stuff like that now. So
they have changed. I've got two modified. I've got a classic vibe Tele modified, which is my favorite guitar. Really, it's fantastic. But I was older body.
Yeah.
It's sad they changed the spec around. Really, to be honest.
Absolutely, yeah. I know. So I was thinking the same when I was looking at the new spec because, I think it was a thin line telly.
Yeah.
And that was lovely going back that for a little bit. It came and it was luck of the draw. It was complete, tiger maple. It's called flame
tiger
maple.
Yeah.
And I think it was 270 quid or something like that.
Yeah, they were. That first series of classic vibes were fantastic. The tellies and the Strats, well, all of them really. And you could easily modify them as well. But I think going back to the acoustic thing as well, one of the things to look for if you're looking for something is solid top.
Yeah.
If you find something with a solid top, that's a question to always ask when you're in a shop. Has it got a solid top? And
exactly, solid top was for them. If you look for some of the Chinese makes now, you can get full solid back and sides as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But electrics, I think I agree with Ruben. The G&Ls are great. There were other ones out there. Well, like I mentioned, the Fret Kings. Fret Kings are quite amazing for the money. Made by Roger. Was it Roger Wilkinson? Yeah, Roger Wilkinson, isn't it?
Wilkinson, yeah.
And he makes a hand-built series in the UK, which are up like £1.5 grand or something like that, maybe £2 grand. And then he's got the standard black series and green series, I think it is. No, blue series and black series, and they're the Korean built ones, I think they are, or Indonesian built or whatever, and they're just amazing for the money. Flawless finishes, just brilliant. So
if the good value, I might be in.
There's a lot of good guitars out there, and in your price range as well, Steve.
Really?
Well, I don't know.
Well, what's been really nice with Simon and Ruben is Ruben's a little bit what's a conflict of interest, I suppose, because he works in a music store. But you've both mentioned some brands which, to be honest, I'd never even heard of, and it just goes to show there's so much great stuff around there. Thank you for that. I think it would be remiss of us on Keep Cardiff Live if we didn't ask you this particular question, which is on my mind, just briefly, really, towards the end of the interview. But of course, Gamblins, Gamblins closing down after all those years, and it's a place for people of a certain age. It's always been there as part of the kind of heritage of Cardiff, and I guess who knows now with this lockdown thing, maybe they're gone and that's it. It would have been the closure was going down, but things have all changed. So, any kind of reminiscences or thoughts on Gamblins in particular, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, I've been going to Gamblins since I was a kid. I think, first place I worked when I was a kid was in a music shop, was in Gwent Music as well, which is still there now, and GM Music, whatever it's called now. But I was always in and out of Gamblins and Gwent Music. And it's just a real shame that Emil, who's a great guy, has always worked in Kingman. It's great to go and pop in and see Emil, have a chat, and, whenever you're passing and so on. And a great place because they stock vintage instruments, which very few do. I know that PMT do to a certain degree, but it's not kind of the same thing, really.
It's a bit vanilla, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's true. And you do find some gems in Gamblins. I think I bought a Gibson Howard Roberts there going back about 15, 20 years ago. And I was, I think reasonable money, you could do a deal with them, you could barter a little bit, there's all that kind of thing going on there. There's a couple of the people who work there on the grumpy side, should we say? Not Emil. Emil's fantastic, but we're talking more like gambling family members, perhaps. It is a shame to see it going because it was the one music shop that's always been there in Cardiff since the
family
60s.
business, as well.
Yeah, and I think they were the first people to bring Fender to Wales and all that, and the Fender Strats and so on. So it's a bit gutting, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, you don't really know Gavin as much, do you?
It's your arch enemy.
Yeah.
I used to go into Cranes when I first started playing guitar to buy strings. I'm not really too familiar with Gamblins, but I love their vintage instrument selection.
Yeah.
And they got like a lovely 61 telly in there. I think it was 64. One of them. It was.
Yeah, they got a nice 330 with the one single pickup in the middle instead of the two pickups like this. I got some nice things.
SG as well. Junior.
Yeah, I mean that's the one thing I think Cardiff, well, Wales lacks really is a good vintage guitar shop. You know, I was in Austin with Sean on a gig. I went to Austin Vintage Guitars, and that was just like,
yeah,
it was like I think you had like 10 60s 335s, like 15 like 60s Strats. You know, it was like every single guitar, and you know the guy was like, yeah, if you want to try something, just take it out for a while, man, just plug it in. You know, none of this kind of watch your jacket or whatever. Oh, you know, watch your buckle on that jacket, mate. You know, none of that. It's like just plug in these vintage amps. Vintage sounds great. Yeah, so Bath is quite good for that. If you go over to Vintage and Rare, you know.
In Bath, yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
Indeed.
Some Magpie Music in Brighton as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Magpie Music's good.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fantastic having you along, guys, today, talking to us a little bit about your guitars. It's very kind of you. And obviously, this is going to be one of the Gear Guru series. So it'd be great if in the future maybe you can come back and talk a little bit more about something else, maybe some of the effects you use or something like that. I'm sure people would be interested in that as well.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
Really generous of you to give up your time today, and thank you very much.
Okay, nice one, Tom. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Cheers.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.